The Tyler mayor's race is going to a runoff. Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us. Current City Councilman Stuart Haney and former Councilman John Nix will appear on the June 13th ballot. Haney says that his platform is focused on continuing growth in the Rose City. Nix says current leadership is not cutting it. KLTV's J.D. Conte spoke with both of them as this race heats up.
It's hard to miss from Stuart Haney's Tyler office. The city is growing. He wants to keep it that way.
My campaign's focused on attracting new businesses here to town, creating new jobs, opportunities for new employees here in town, and retaining that talent.
Haney has been a city councilman since 2021. His opponent, John Nix, served on council from 2013 to 19.
My opponent's treating the taxpayer like they're an ATM stops. We need to be protecting our taxpayer dollars. We need to make sure that those dollars stay in our citizens' pocket and that we're not reaching in there and taking more for excessive projects.
Nix earned the most votes out of 4 candidates in Saturday's election with 2,800. Haney secured second with 310 more votes than the third-place candidate, Councilman James Wynn. Both candidates agree on or dislike one thing: Broadway traffic. Since TxDOT maintains the road, each man has their own plan for other roads to relieve traffic.
Grande needs to be extended both directions. Cumberland Road needs to be widened.
Extending Copeland Road down south to Cumberland. And even a little further east, getting more of that Broadway traffic over to the Biloxi corridor.
Many Tyler residents have been seeing higher water bills, something Nix calls a systemic problem.
Our water rate structure is poor, and it puts most of the burden on our low and no users. So our people with fixed income, people with just 1 or 2 people in the house.
Haney says the city recently switched to a uniform billing rate. He says previously, water customers paid less per gallon the more they used.
It promotes conservation. It promotes water efficiency, and everybody's paying the same amount for that water usage. I think at the end of the day, that's going to help. People will be able to accurately track if they're using a certain amount of water.
2 candidates, both with time in City Hall. One past, one present.
My opponent has not focused over the last 5-6 years on roads, has not focused on road maintenance, has not focused on water billing issues. And those are things that are really affecting people and hurting them.
We've been ranked the 2nd best place to live in the state of Texas, and that didn't happen with previous councils. That has just happened recently. And so we have a lot of good things going for Tyler, and that's what I want to continue to see going forward.
J.D. Conte, KLTV 7 News.
Election Day is June 13th. Early voting will run June 2nd through June